Right. The floor is yours.
Okay. Welcome everybody to the second session. We are expecting, a very interesting speech. Now, first, let me introduce our speaker to you. Asım Esat was born and raised in Turkey. He says he has lived in Egypt for 4 years and learned a foreign language, English, in there while becoming fluent English and gaining a comprehensive grasp in the language. Then he says he studied Japanese during high school years. Then he started his education in English language and literature at Social Sciences University of Ankara, he says so. And then he says he has started learning modern Hebrew and while also continuing studies in Japanese. Now, he is in his second year of his education, and he says looking for more ways to enrich his knowledge. And just a second. I'm lost in my computer. Anyway, so the title of his presentation is Analysis on the Two Dreams of Victor Frankenstein in Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. The floor is yours, Esat.
Thank you. Hocam, can you can see my screen, right?
Yes,
right now.
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you very much. So hello everyone again. I am Esat, and today I will be presenting, as Baysar Hoca said, my analysis on the two dreams of Victor Frankenstein in Frankenstein or the Modern Prometheus by Mary Shelley, under the title Dreams in Gothic Fiction. So I just want to present a brief list of the characters beforehand. So Victor Frankenstein is one of the two protagonists, and he is a mad scientist who creates his monster. The monster is a 2.5 meter tall creature Victor Frankenstein creates. Robert Walton is the Arctic explorer who journeys to the North Pole and takes Victor into his ship. Henry Clerval is Victor's childhood friend and his best friend also. Elizabeth Lavenza is Victor's cousin, and later the Frankenstein family adopts her into their household, and she is actually then Victor's wife-to-be. Alphonse Frankenstein is Victor's father, and Justine Moritz is the servant of the Frankenstein household. So let me give a plot summary of the novel right now. Frankenstein starts with a few letters from Robert Walton, the captain who journeys to the North Pole, to his sister Margaret. Walton sees two men, one of a giant size and one in normal human proportions, and he just invites the normal-sized guy, who is Victor Frankenstein, into his ship. Victor starts telling his story, and the narration switches to Victor. So Victor is a student of chemistry who gains an insight into subjects such as creation of life, electricity, and galvanism, which is a process he uses to reanimate pieces of different dead human bodies to create his own creature. He succeeds to do so, and once he succeeds to create his own creature, he is shocked in disgust and rushes out of his laboratory. After many months and a long period, Victor learns that his nephew is killed, and he suspects his monster as the murderer. After some time, Victor and his creature approach each other again, and this time the monster demands something from Victor, and he wants a companion. Victor first tells, okay, I will do it, but then he abandons his creature for the second time. In turn to this, the monster decides to take all family members of Victor. And in turn to this, Victor starts chasing the monster until the end of the world, which is the North Pole, in order to kill him. At the end, Victor is fallen sick out of all this chasing, and before dying, he makes Captain Walton swear to him that he will kill the monster instead of him, and dies. After this, the monster just comes into the ship, and seeing that his master is now dead, he is in grief and tells that he will kill himself and jumps out of the ship. So tough story. But before all these actions, Victor Frankenstein, before he even gets his hands onto creating his monster, he has two dreams. Although these dreams take up very little space in the novel, their importance as symbols and theme evokers are bigger than the space they take. One of these dreams is a daydream, and the other one is a nightmare. And today our interest will be these two dreams. So the first part will be the daydream. The daydream takes place in Volume 1, Chapter 4 of the novel, where Victor daydreams and just speaks about how perfect, how nice would it be if he was to create a new species. So the quotation reads as, "No one can conceive the variety of feelings which bore me onwards like a hurricane in the first enthusiasm of success. Life and death appeared to me ideal bounds which I should first break through and pour a torrent of light into our dark world. A new species would bless me as its creator and source. Many happy and excellent natures would owe their being to me. No father could claim the gratitude of his child so completely as I should deserve theirs. Pursuing these reflections, I thought that if I could bestow animation upon lifeless matter, I might, in process of time, although I now found it impossible, renew life where death had apparently devoted the body to corruption." So, from this only paragraph, we can get these senses of Victor's scientific madness, his urge to learn, to create, and develop. So the themes here are light as a theme, nature, learning, scientific discovery, and hope. And one of the symbols are light as a symbol. So let's now take a look at the major themes. The first major theme is light, and light is not alone. It is actually a piece of a great rivalry throughout the novel, which is the rivalry of light and darkness. So it is significant both as a theme and a symbol. And the quotation reads as, "Life and death appear to me ideal bounds, which I should first break through and pour a torrent of light into our dark world." As a symbol here, Victor tells that here he's going to create a stream of light in his dark world. And we will come to this point in a few seconds as nature. So psychologically, Victor wants to get rid of all the dark elements in his life, but this daydream only serves as a hint of his failure. And this point takes us to another theme embedded in this rivalry, which is disillusionment. And in my opinion, in a structuralist sense, Shelley also gives a hint of the rivalry of light and the dark by saying life and death and a torrent of light into our dark world. So the second major theme is learning and scientific discovery, and these two themes are so close, so related to each other that they're almost interlocked into each other, and they both hold the senses of Industrial Revolution, which was present at Shelley's period, which is Romantic era. So Victor's urge to learn, discover, create, and develop are unmovable pieces of the novel's general mood, and when they're combined with Victor's madness, they just evoke these great themes. So let's take a look at minor themes. The first minor theme is nature. Although nature as a theme is really usual in the Romantic era, it seems a little bit lost, a little bit weak here, but there is a twist to it. So the twist is, it is clear that Victor admires and loves nature, but in a different way. His childhood friend Henry Clerval loves the nature like a normal, usual romanticist, but Victor's wants to play with nature, and he just wants to make changes in the nature, just want to impact the nature. So, I think that this is a game changer in here, and in his daydream, Victor tells about his big aim to make an impact on the nature he explains as our dark world. So the last minor theme is hope. Although it seems a little bit weak as the nature, I think it is the very theme that characterizes the daydream, because when we look at the daydream, it is filled with hope and high standards, Victor's aims. So I think it is important. It is important of a theme, and it may also be heralding the coming of a new era, which can be described as the further development of industrialization, maybe. So Our second part is the nightmare. The nightmare takes place only one chapter ahead of the Daydream, and in the same volume, chapter 5, Victor just rushes out of his laboratory upon seeing his hideous creature, and he just wants to forget all this horror and he just goes back to sleep. But his horrors won't leave him alone. In his sleep, he has a nightmare. Um, in his nightmare, he is just touring around, walking around in the streets of Ingolstadt, the city where he pursues his education, and he sees Elizabeth there. So let's see what happens. But it was in vain I slept indeed, but I was disturbed by the wildest dreams. I thought I saw Elizabeth in the bloom of health walking in the streets of Ingolstadt. Delighted and surprised, I embraced her, but as I imprinted the first kiss on her lips, they became livid with the hue of death. Her features appeared to change, and I thought that I held the corpse of my dead mother in my arms. A shroud enveloped her form, and I saw the grey worms crawling in the folds of the flannel. I started from my sleep with horror. So, as we can see, there are a lot of dark elements in this part. So the themes are loss, darkness, emptiness, and despair represented, evoked by darkness and disillusionment. So let's take a look at the major themes of this nightmare. The first major theme is loss, and loss is not only present in this nightmare, it is really present in all throughout the novel because Mary Shelley had a very keen sense of loss with not only losing her mother when she was born, but also present deaths of her stepsister and her son. So the nightmare here is important in the sense of loss because it may also be heralding the loss of all family members of Victor Frankenstein. It is almost like a sequence. Before we get the nightmare, we lose Elizabeth's mother and Victor's mother. And after the nightmare, we lose William, Justine, Henry Clerval, Elizabeth, Alphonse, and lastly Victor, and presumably the monster too, because he just commits suicide. So the next major theme is darkness. Darkness is the twin of light and the second part of the rivalry, and it can be just observed from the very explicit dark elements throughout the narration. The quotation reads as, I thought that I held the corpse of my dead mother in my arms. A shroud enveloped her form, and I saw the grey worms crawling in the folds of the flannel. So as a symbol here, oh, I'm sorry, I had to cut this part. So let me just continue. In the same structuralist sense as the Daydream, Shelley uses these dark elements to just stir up the fight between light and darkness, in my opinion. The second major theme is disillusionment. So in the in the nightmare, Victor embraces Elizabeth just to see her rotting in his arms to turn into his mother's corpse. This is very similar to him creating his monster with very high hopes just to run away from him in disgust. So a minor theme here is emptiness and despair. These two minor themes are empowered by several major themes such as loss and darkness, and the significance of these two are present in the nightmare because, in the narration and the individual plot, emotion is very minimal and the gothic elements are extreme. Like in here, we we see very less emotional. He is just walking in the streets of Ingolstadt. Nothing just happens there. He sees Elizabeth. He hugs her, but why? In my opinion, I couldn't see any sense of emotion. So I think it represents the emptiness of the novel, emptiness of the emotions, and the Gothic elements represents the despair. So, in conclusion, I think that all these things, all these themes and concepts evoke just this stirred up fight between light and darkness, because I think that everything leads us to that light and darkness, life and death, and we also have a opposite of Victor, which is Henry Clerval. Victor, who is just mad and dark, and Henry, who is full of life. So I would like to conclude my presentation there, and I am open to any kind of questions.
Thank you very much, Esat, for this wonderful, concise presentation in which you related the contents of daydreams and nightmares in Frankenstein with lightness and darkness. Now, the floor is open for questions.
Yes, I
Yes.
think we have a question.
But I can't see them.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, Seda Nur. Okay.
I don't ask question, but I want to say something. The explanation of these true dreams reminded me of the saying everything is beautiful in the dreams. While dreams should actually lead us to better places, Victor seems to have integrated his dreams in with his determination and maybe hubris. So, as I said, everything is beautiful in dreams. It's reminded me, actually.
Thank you very much. I think this is also a great point here, because the daydream also evokes his hubris. Actually, it is. I would have liked to include that here, but I think hubris as a concept is very huge in the novel, so it should be just explored alone all by itself. But I think you made a very great point. Thank you very much for your comment.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Seda Nur, sorry. Any more questions?
Can I contribute the question and the comment, maybe? I would like to go back to the creation of the book. Do you think Frankenstein was Mary Shelley's dream? Because she started writing the novel as part of a,
competition
between
competition between the
Byron,
poets in the South, in Switzerland.
I think, Hocam, thank you for your question, first of all. I think maybe because the senses of the novel are very, in my opinion, dreamy, and this is also a usual point of the Gothic genre. But I think, yeah, it may be because it is almost a story that was written in one night, because of course it was further developed later, but Lord Byron, Mary Shelley, Percy Shelley, and Lord Byron's doctor they were just sitting and they just said, okay, let's do a competition, and this book just arrived like out of nowhere. So yeah, I think so. It may be true.
Okay, thank you, Mehmet Ali Hocam. Miraç, I guess he wants to ask something. Yes, Miraç?
Yes, I want to make a comment and ask a simple question. I like to read this book from a certain point of view. So, yes, there are many dualities, there are many binaries in the book which contributes to the themes. But remember the scene where he first creates the monster. He creates the monster and goes to another room and he falls asleep. And then when he wakes up, the monster was looking at him. So my question is, from Victor's point of view, can it all be a dream where Frankenstein faces his shadow, his id, his inner self? Maybe that's why the whole book seems so dreamy.
Thank you very much for this point, and I think I am gonna look into this further after the presentation, because this just reminds me of the movie Fight Club, and it is really similar. And if it was, as you said, it would be more and more interesting because I'm really interested in this novel. I'm just gonna look into it, and if it really is, I would be really surprised, and we would just explore another side of Mary Shelley. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I really liked it, and I highly suggest you that look into that concept.
Thank you very much. I
Thank
will.
you, Miraj.
Sure.
Thank you very much, Miraj, for your contribution. Any more questions? We have time, I guess, plenty of time. So, no question at all. So, Esat, not a question maybe, but maybe I'm asking your idea about that. Which one is privileged, light or darkness? Lightness or darkness? Because you say Daydream, when I think about that, I, in a common sense, associate Daydream with light. And when I say light, that means for me hope. But when I say nightmare, so it's associated with dark and hopelessness. So what do you say? Which one is privileged in the novel?
In the novel, dark is highly privileged because dark just wins the fight. It just squeezes light over, in my opinion, and just wins everything in that rivalry. Because in the end, we lost everything. And actually, maybe a very far point, but if anybody has read the Turkish novel Intibah, it was, it had um, it was very influenced from the Gothic literature of the present time, and the same things happened there. This is, I think it just got influenced from Frankenstein, and Frankenstein just shows us that sometimes darkness can win. There's like nothing to do. Like the evil can just um, get it all, and at the end we have no one left. Everybody dies. Just Captain Walton stays.
Thank you very much. No more questions. Yes, Müjdat.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much for your presentation, first of all. And I would like to ask a question about the overall idea of the novel, actually. When we think about the overall the novel, it is about a dream. It's a dream that turns into a nightmare, into a kind of nightmare. At the point, the dream is achieved, actually, because the doctor wants to give life to a creature, and at the moment he gives life to a creature, it turns into a kind of nightmare. So at this point, what do you think turns this nightmare, dream into a kind of nightmare? Is it the responsibility that he is not able to take of his dream, or what do you think?
I think that it is just exact the responsibility that Victor Frankenstein lacks, because even if it was so horrible, when I first read the novel, like 1.5 years ago, when I first studied the novel, I was just so sad. It just affected me deeply because the monster always got punished for nothing. The monster always got kicked out. Just so the monster was very poor. He was nothing horrible. He was just like a baby. He didn't even know a language. So Victor had to have his responsibility and just look after the monster. And he could actually accomplish his dream of creating a new perfect species. It is not very impossible. It could have been done.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question.
Thank you, Müjdat, for your contribution. Do you have any more questions? I guess.
Okay then.
Okay, then, yes.
Okay.
We don't no
So-
more questions.
All I would like to do now is thank you everyone and my professor and hocalarım. Thank you very much for listening to me and giving me this opportunity.
Thank you
Yeah,
for being.
we would also like you to
Mhm.
thank you for being here. And yes. So should we end it, Mehmet Ali Hocam?
Okay, I'm stopping the recording.